Darkness has always captured human imagination. In the quiet, lonely hours of night, when silence presses in and every shadow seems to hide secrets, people often look downward rather than upward. What lies beneath the soil, beyond the caves we have explored, deeper than the molten mantle that geologists map with painstaking precision? Some insist it's nothing but rock and fire. Others whisper about entire kingdoms, civilizations hidden from the surface, flourishing quietly beneath our feet. The story begins with an idea that might seem almost laughable at first: the hollow earth. Science tells us the earth is solid, layered like an onion with crust, mantle, outer core, and inner core. These layers are confirmed through seismic readings, the mathematics of gravity, and countless geological experiments. And yet, despite centuries of certainty, a sliver of doubt lingers, sharpened by myths too persistent to vanish. Ancient Greek philosophers debated whether the underworld described by poets was merely a metaphor for death, or whether Homer and Hesiod were remembering some older knowledge of a subterranean world. Mesopotamian texts describe Kerala, a shadowy realm of the dead, ruled by Arashki, where rivers of pitch flowed in endless darkness. Mainstream history treats these stories as reflections of humanity's fear of mortality, but some wonder if they preserve faint memories of real underground domains. The idea of a hollow earth entered European thought in the late 17th century, often credited to the astronomer Edmund Halley, the very man who tracked the comet that now bears his name. He proposed that the earth might be hollow, composed of concentric shells, perhaps even lit from within. Halley's theory, printed in the Philosophical Transactions of the Royal Society in 1692, wasn't meant as fantasy. It was a scientific attempt to explain odd variations in compass readings. Today, it's largely dismissed, but it remains one of the earliest seeds for imagining a habitable world inside our own. Historians still debate whether Halley genuinely believed this or was offering a convenient hypothesis. Long before Halley, cultures around the world hinted at something beneath the surface. Among the Hopi people of North America, oral traditions speak of the ant people, subterranean beings who sheltered humanity during cataclysmic fires and floods. In Tibetan Buddhism, hidden realms known as Shangri-La or Shambhala were said to exist, accessible only through secret passages in the Himalayas. The Norse imagined Spitalaheim, the dwarves' subterranean land. Across continents and centuries, these stories raise the same question. Why does the concept of a hidden world beneath the surface appear so universally? In the 20th century, explorers and fringe theorists eagerly seized upon these tales, but the roots go even further back. Roman writers recorded strange accounts of entire underground cities in Cappadocia, carved into rock and connected by tunnels large enough for thousands to live unseen. These were not purely mythical. The labyrinths still exist today beneath the Turkish plateau. Though created by humans above ground, their scale sparks the imagination. If ancient people could carve immense underground networks for refuge, why not imagine others, older, stranger, perhaps more advanced, doing the same in places beyond our reach? Among these reflections, one peculiar story deserves attention. In 1818, an eccentric American named John Cleve Symmes Jr. campaigned for a government expedition to locate massive holes at the poles, gateways, he claimed, to the hollow interior of the earth. His circulars, widely distributed, proposed colonizing these lands and opening trade with the advanced civilizations dwelling inside. Though mocked, Symmes' obsession captured public imagination and inspired novels that blurred fact and fiction. His son would later attempt to carry the dream forward, though no official expedition was ever approved. Modern geology dismisses these claims, yet the persistence of Symmes' theory is telling. Even in an age of reason, the desire for hidden worlds endures. While physicists insist a hollow Earth is impossible under the laws of pressure and gravity, others point out that immense underground caverns exist, some stretching for miles, many still unexplored. In 2014, scientists announced the discovery of a massive reservoir of water trapped within minerals deep in the Earth's mantle, potentially 3 times the volume of all the oceans combined. This doesn't prove a hollow world, but it shows how little we truly know about what lies beneath our feet. And so the stage is set. Myths, maps, and science collide in uneasy debate. A world within our world, dismissed by scholars, yet whispered about in temples, caves, and ancient manuscripts. The question hovers between poetry and possibility. Could there be life, not microbial, not abstract, but intelligent, organized, enduring, beneath us? Before we go further, pause for a moment. If this story has already sparked your imagination, if the thought of secret kingdoms hidden in darkness makes your mind race, then do this. Like the video, subscribe if you enjoy the content, and share your location and local time in the comments so fellow seekers can see where in the world you are listening from. Now the descent begins. Beyond the known maps of explorers, past the shallow crust beneath our feet, into shadows and unanswered questions. The hollow earth may be mere myth, or it may hide something far greater than we dare imagine. The voices of history whisper faintly from below. Suddenly, the ground beneath us doesn't feel quite as solid as it once did. Beneath the surface of history, stories cling stubbornly to the edges of memory. Legends of underground worlds appear not in one culture, but in many, separated by oceans, mountains, and thousands of years. They aren't identical, yet their persistence weaves a haunting thread. It's almost as if human imagination has always carried a quiet suspicion that the earth hides more than it shows. The Greeks spoke of Hades, a shadowy underworld where the souls of the dead wandered endlessly. The Orphic mysteries describe secret descents, where initiates followed cryptic tablets guiding them through the realms of death. Scholars say these were symbolic, representing spiritual transformation. But the images are striking: winding underground paths, guarded portals, rivers, and palaces ruled by unseen kings. Historians still debate whether these myths were purely allegorical or inspired by encounters with deep caves that stirred the sense of another world. Far to the east, in Mesopotamia, the Epic of Gilgamesh recounts Enkidu's descent into the House of Dust, a place beneath the soil where the dead eat clay and drink stale water. Again, this may be poetic imagery for mortality, but it exists alongside the literal geography of Mesopotamia, a land riddled with underground aquifers, tombs, and labyrinthine temple foundations. In China, Taoist texts spoke of immortal grottos, hidden caverns where sages found passage to realms beyond ordinary time. These sacred caves were said to connect with deeper dimensions of the earth, places of eternal light despite their distance from the sun. Meanwhile, on the high plateaus of Tibet and Mongolia, Buddhist texts whisper of Shambhala, a hidden kingdom of enlightened beings concealed within mountains or below the ground. The Kalachakra Tantra describes it as a realm of radiant palaces, invisible to the unworthy, accessible only to those pure of heart. To many, this is metaphorical, representing spiritual attainment. But for others, it inspires belief in literal passages leading downward into concealed worlds. Pilgrims have wandered mountain passes for centuries, hoping to find the gates to this hidden city. Stranger still are the stories from the indigenous peoples of the Americas. Among the Hopi, the tale of the ant people stands out. In their oral tradition, humanity was saved not once, but twice, by these underground dwellers. When fire swept the land, and when floods drowned the surface, the ant people opened their tunnels and sheltered humans. These beings were not gods, but helpers, tall, thin figures with large heads, eyes that glowed in the dark. To modern ears, it sounds like myth. Yet to the Hopi, it is history, honored and retold across generations. Europe, too, offers curious tales. In 12th century Woolpit, England, two children appeared, green-skinned, speaking an unknown language, their origins a mystery. They claimed to come from a land beneath the earth, a place with no sun, where everything glowed green. Some dismissed the story as allegory or famine-born folklore. Yet its preservation in chronicles ensures it remains part of the conversation about subterranean civilizations. And then there are the caves themselves, silent, colossal, and compelling. In 1994, explorers discovered the Cueva de las Cristales in Mexico, a cavern filled with crystals so enormous they dwarfed humans. Some measured over 10 meters long, shining like pillars from another world. That's just one among thousands of unexplored caves. Each discovery fuels a question. If nature can create chambers so vast and alien in beauty, Why shouldn't our imagination populate them with hidden societies? One strange tangent comes from the 17th century, when Jesuit missionaries in South America recorded tales of cities beneath the Andes lit by perpetual fire. Dismissed as local legend, these stories didn't fade. Travelers in later centuries claimed to find entrances into vast cavern systems near Cusco and Quito, insisting that golden treasures from the Inca Empire were hidden inside, never recovered. Part history, part fantasy, these tales inspired expeditions well into the modern era. Science, of course, offers grounding. The Earth is alive with motion. Tectonic plates shift, magma flows, seismic stresses move continents over millions of years. Earthquakes, sinkholes, and volcanic eruptions remind us the ground beneath is far from stable. Caverns form as water eats through limestone, lava tubes stretch for miles, and subterranean rivers carve hidden paths. While this doesn't prove vast hollow chambers, it reveals countless secret passageways that remain unexplored. Here lies the tension. On one hand, science insists a hollow Earth, as once imagined, cannot exist. On the other, myths and experiences across cultures reveal uncanny parallels, impossible to dismiss outright. Perhaps these legends point not to a hollow planet, but to real localized societies, tribes, hermits, or forgotten cultures surviving in deep caves. Could their memory have grown into myth, and myth into a universal archetype? One final twist deepens the mystery. In 2013, geophysicists discovered seismic patterns suggesting enormous reservoirs of water hundreds of kilometers beneath the Earth's surface, trapped within ringwoodite crystals. Oceans of liquid, hidden where no one imagined. Perhaps entire ecosystems, microbial, and maybe even more complex forms of life, exist in places utterly beyond our reach. Theories remain cautious, yet the door, however slightly, remains open. And so the legends endure. Some see them as allegory, others as distorted memories, and still others as whispers of real civilizations that vanished into the depths. The debate stretches across centuries and disciplines. Scholars ask whether these stories are coincidence, or fragments of a collective memory of something long forgotten. And as long as caves remain dark and unexplored, the question cannot be fully answered. An old saying among Renaissance cartographers captures this perfectly: "Here be dragons." It wasn't really a warning about monsters. It was a signal of uncertainty, a mark that maps could not be trusted beyond the edges of known exploration. Yet sometimes the maps hinted at more than caution. They contained illustrations and strange details suggesting unseen realms, corridors leading to imagined worlds no one had confirmed. Within these curious artifacts, the notion of hidden civilizations beneath the Earth began to take on a more tangible form. The Renaissance was an age of rediscovery, a time when scholars sought to reconnect with the knowledge of Greece, Rome, and antiquity. Maps were drawn and redrawn, guided as much by myth as by observation. Some of the strangest depicted vast openings at the poles, gateways to lands below. One map, attributed to the Flemish cartographer Gerard Mercator in the 16th century, portrayed the North Pole not as ice, but as a great opening, a whirlpool drawing in oceans with 4 rivers converging on a central landmass. At its heart rose a black mountain, Rupes Negra, said to tower like a pillar at the center of the world. Scholars still debate Mercator's sources. Some suggest he drew from Norse legends of Hyperborea, a land beyond Arctic winds. Others believe he relied on lost manuscripts from medieval travelers, stories colored by the impossible tales of explorers venturing farther north than ships could survive. Whatever the origin, the map sparked waves of speculation. If such an opening existed at the top of the world, could it lead downward into an unseen domain? In the 19th century, explorers picked up the thread. In the 1820s, a British-born American naval officer, John Cleve Symmes Jr., circulated handbills declaring that the Earth was hollow and habitable within, with entrances at both poles. He demanded a government expedition to find them. Symmes was no cartographer or scientist. He was a soldier and a dreamer. Officials dismissed his claims, yet the idea captured public imagination. His followers even petitioned Congress to fund the journey. Historians still debate whether Sims was deluded or simply tapping into a deep cultural hunger for unseen frontiers. While Sims campaigned, literature embraced the concept. Jules Verne's Journey to the Center of the Earth, published in 1864, painted a fantastical vision of subterranean oceans and prehistoric creatures living beneath the crust. Though fiction, Verne's novel drew heavily from contemporary science and folklore whispering of caverns and hidden realms, cementing the hollow earth myth in Western imagination. Even more intriguing are the reports from real expeditions that echo these tales. In 1595, Flemish explorer Willem Barents sailed searching for the Northeast Passage. Trapped in Arctic ice, he and his crew recorded strange phenomena: shimmering lights, distorted horizons, mirages hinting at land where none existed. Today, we understand such illusions as atmospheric refraction, but at the time, they fueled speculation about hidden lands beyond ordinary navigation. Could these mirages have hinted at entrances to inner realms, or were they mere tricks of light on ice and water? A peculiar detail emerges from a 17th century map, the Nova Orbis Tabula, which depicted not just continents, but subterranean regions, illustrated with passages leading downward. Accuracy was secondary to imagination, yet these designs reveal how natural it seemed to Renaissance minds that the Earth could hold entire worlds within. One strange, almost unrelated account comes from 1665 Leipzig, where residents reported witnessing two armies battling in the sky: smoke, fire, and cannon blasts filling the heavens. Modern historians chalk it up to atmospheric phenomena or mass hallucination. Yet it shows how people interpreted the unexplainable as evidence of hidden realms interacting with their own. If the skies could conceal unseen battles, why not the earth beneath? Modern science provides grounding once again. Geologists confirm that polar regions contain massive, shifting ice sheets atop rock and frozen oceans. Satellite imagery has mapped much of this terrain, revealing no giant openings. Yet the poles remain inhospitable and difficult to explore fully, leaving mysteries intact. In 2018, scientists discovered a massive void beneath Antarctic ice nearly the size of Manhattan, formed as ice shifted and melted. It does not suggest a hollow Earth, but it reminds us that even today, enormous hidden spaces can remain undiscovered, waiting for technology to reveal them. Speculation never ends. If maps from the past hinted at openings, were they symbolic, metaphorical, or inspired by explorers glimpsing something real but misinterpreting it? Some argue that Mercator's depiction of a polar opening was purely allegorical, a representation not of a physical gateway, but of a spiritual center of the world. Others wonder if he had access to records from earlier civilizations, Phoenicians, Vikings, or even older seafarers, who passed down distorted tales of what lay at the edges of the known Earth. The debate stretches across centuries, unresolved. Each map acts both as a window and a riddle, reminding us that human imagination thrives where knowledge ends. In the shaded corners of parchment, along the edges of continents, artists filled the unknown with serpents, whirlpools, and gates to other worlds. Those images, once drawn, became seeds that grew into modern myths of hidden civilizations beneath the earth. High in the Himalayas, monks have long whispered of Shambhala. Unlike the shadowy underworlds of Greece or Mesopotamia, Shambhala was described not as a place of death, but as a kingdom of light. Its golden palaces, encircled by snow-capped peaks, were said to house beings of extraordinary wisdom, guardians of secrets capable of influencing the fate of humanity itself. Some accounts placed it deep within the mountains, others beneath the earth entirely, accessible only through secret passages known to initiates. The story of Shambhala first appeared in Buddhist texts of the Kalachakra Tantra, around the 10th century. It was described as the source of sacred teachings, a place where rulers and sages preserved wisdom for a future age when the world above would descend into chaos. Descriptions vary. Some portray it as a physical city hidden by geography and enchantment, others as a spiritual state attainable only through enlightenment. Yet across all accounts runs a single, compelling thread. Shambhala is hidden, unreachable by ordinary means. In the 19th and 20th centuries, Western explorers and mystics seized upon these traditions. Russian traveler Nicholas Roerich journeyed through Central Asia in the 1920s, writing of lamas who pointed toward distant valleys and spoke of Shambhala. He described visions of a radiant city hidden behind clouds, guarded by unseen forces. Roerich's accounts inspired artists and occultists alike, blending Buddhist myth with Western fascination for subterranean civilizations. Theosophists, particularly Helena Blavatsky, drew connections between Shambhala and earlier European myths of Agartha, a hidden world beneath the Earth's crust. In her writings, Blavatsky suggested that ancient masters, the Mahatmas, dwelt in these secret cities, guiding human evolution unseen. She wove together strands from Buddhist scripture, Hindu mythology, and Western esotericism into a vision where Shambhala was not only real, but inhabited by advanced beings. Historical context deepens the intrigue. In the early 20th century, several European expeditions, including German-funded missions, ventured into Tibet, ostensibly for scientific and ethnographic research. Rumors persisted that these journeys sought Shambhala or Agartha. Official reports speak of surveys and cultural exchanges, but speculative literature insists explorers were searching for gateways to subterranean kingdoms. Historians still debate whether these expeditions carried hidden motives, or whether later mythmakers projected their own desires onto them. One curious event occurred in 1927, when Roerich claimed that while traveling in Mongolia, he and a companion saw a shiny object moving across the sky, disappearing behind the mountains. Some interpret it as an early UFO sighting, others as a meteor. Yet Roerich connected it to Shambhala, suggesting it was a signal from the hidden realm. This blending of celestial mystery with subterranean legend highlights how these myths attract connections across disparate phenomena. Modern science approaches Shambhala cautiously. Geographers note that the Himalayas are among the youngest and most unstable mountains on Earth, thrust upward by tectonic collisions. Beneath them lies a complex network of caves, rifts, and underground rivers, much of it unexplored. In 2008, a newly discovered cave system in China stretched more than 100 kilometers, complete with its own weather system. These discoveries prove that immense hidden spaces exist beneath mountains, though formed by geology rather than guardians of sacred wisdom. Yet the symbolism of Shambhala endures. For some, it represents hope for refuge in dark times. For others, a metaphor for inner transformation, a reminder that journeys inward can lead to hidden realms of consciousness. For a dedicated few, it remains a literal kingdom awaiting discovery. Speculation continues. Could Shambhala and Agartha be remnants of real societies that retreated underground in ancient times, preserving knowledge that later became myth? Could the vision of a radiant underground kingdom reflect memories of thriving cave-based settlements, like the vast cities of Cappadocia, magnified across centuries of storytelling? The debate is far from resolved. Historians, anthropologists, and mystics interpret Shambhala differently. To scholars, it is myth, to spiritual seekers, a living ideal, and to those captivated by hidden civilizations, one more hint that beneath mountains and soil, entire worlds may still lie undiscovered. As the legends of Shambhala spread through the East, Europe developed its own subterranean vision, Agartha. Unlike the luminous kingdom of Tibetan texts, Agartha was imagined as a vast, structured empire beneath the surface, ruled by a powerful king and connected to the world above through hidden tunnels spanning continents. Its name emerged in the 19th century, woven into the works of occultists, mystics, and writers seeking to explain the persistent echoes of hidden worlds beneath the earth. The earliest detailed description of Agartha comes from a French writer, Joseph Alexander Saint-Yves d'Alvedre, in 1886. In his book Mission d'Europe, Saint-Yves claimed to have received visions of the underground realm from an Eastern master. He described it as an immense civilization, governed by wise rulers who preserved libraries of lost knowledge and wielded technologies far beyond anything known on the surface. According to his vision, Agartha had once been accessible to humanity but had retreated underground after cataclysms reshaped the earth. Saint-Yves' writings blended esotericism with geopolitics, suggesting that surface nations could achieve peace by following the enlightened model of Agartha's governance. His ideas were eagerly absorbed by the Theosophical movement. To followers of Helena Blavatsky and other occult thinkers, Agartha was not mere fantasy, it was a hidden counterpart to the visible world, a kingdom waiting to emerge. Historians still debate whether Saint Yves drew from genuine Eastern traditions or simply crafted a myth to serve his philosophical agenda. From there, Agartha seeped into folklore, entwining with older legends of subterranean people. In Germany, tales of Erdleute, earth-dwellers, had long described small, elusive beings inhabiting caverns and mines. In Scandinavia, dwarves were believed to live in underground forges, crafting weapons of extraordinary power. These folk traditions were not identical to Agartha, yet they merged over time with the idea that vast, organized societies might exist beneath the surface. In the early 20th century, European explorers carried the legend even further. Polish writer Ferdynand Ossendowski, in Beasts, Men, and Gods, 1922, recounted travels across Mongolia. He claimed to have heard from lamas and nomads about a subterranean kingdom called Agadi, whose ruler, the so-called King of the World, could influence events on the surface. Ossendowski described how earthquakes, storms, and wars were believed to be linked to decisions made in this hidden kingdom. Critics accused him of exaggeration, but his book captured imaginations worldwide, cementing Agartha in popular consciousness. At the same time, strange parallels emerged in Europe. In 1924, German newspapers reported mysterious lights in the sky, which some interpreted as signs of secret technologies. Historians today attribute them to early experimental aircraft or natural phenomena, but occultists linked the sightings to Agartha, speculating that advanced subterranean civilizations might deploy aerial craft. In this way, myths of hidden worlds became entwined with the modern fascination for flight. Science, of course, offered grounding. Anthropologists noted that underground realms often appear in regions where cave systems were vital for survival. In Cappadocia, entire cities were carved underground, complete with ventilation shafts, stables, and hidden corridors. In Malta, the Halsaflini hypogeum suggested subterranean temples connecting worshippers to the earth's depths. These tangible structures likely inspired legends of larger hidden worlds, but the Agartha described by mystics was far greater, a global network, a hidden empire spanning continents. Some imagined it inhabited by survivors of Atlantis, retreating underground after their island sank. Others envisioned beings not entirely human, descendants of an older species choosing the depths over the surface. Still others suggested it represented a higher plane of existence, accessible through both physical passageways and spiritual awakening. Speculation did not fade. Even into the late 20th century, conspiracy theories claimed tunnels connected regions as far apart as Tibet, Egypt, and the Andes. Some insisted governments knew of these pathways and concealed them. Others argued that prehistoric cataclysms forced civilizations underground, where they evolved apart from the surface world. Evidence is circumstantial, legends, anomalous maps, and the presence of vast caves, but it keeps the possibility alive in the minds of believers. The question remains unresolved. Was Agartha merely the invention of mystics and writers, blending folklore into an imagined kingdom? Or could it preserve some distorted memory of real events, survivors of lost cities, cultures forced underground, their story retold until myth formed? Historians still debate whether Agartha is a 19th century creation or a reinterpretation of far older traditions. Whatever its origin, the name endures. Agartha is now central to the hollow earth idea, a place where myth and speculation converge, a symbol of hidden wisdom beneath the soil. Whether allegory, memory, or reality, it continues to haunt the imagination, a reminder that the ground beneath us may conceal secrets far deeper than we dare to guess. By the early 20th century, the myth of subterranean civilizations had moved beyond mystics, mapmakers, and storytellers. It drifted into politics and ideology. Some of the strangest chapters in this history involve the Nazi regime, which sought to fuse mythology with scientific ambition. For them, hidden worlds beneath the earth were not just fanciful tales. They were potential sources of ancient power, knowledge, and legitimacy. The fascination grew from the early German nationalist occult movement. Groups like the Thule Society drew heavily on myths of lost civilizations, including Atlantis and Agartha, weaving them into visions of a noble, ancient race. To these thinkers, the idea of a subterranean kingdom where advanced beings, or forgotten Aryan ancestors, had survived was intoxicating, a vision both mystical and politically charged. For the Nazis, the promise of a hidden world offered both a golden past and a potential ally in the political future of those seeking power. Historians still debate how much these myths influenced official policy, but the threads are hard to ignore. In the 1930s, German expeditions to Tibet were launched under the auspices of the SS, led by Heinrich Himmler's Ahnenerbe Institute. Ostensibly, their mission was to study the culture, geography, and natural history of the region. Yet rumors swirled that they were also searching for Shambhala or Agartha, the legendary hidden kingdoms said to lie beneath the Himalayas. While scholars today emphasize anthropological motives and the Nazis' obsession with racial origins, occult circles insist these missions aimed at literal gateways to subterranean realms. One curious, often overlooked episode occurred in 1938. An SS team reportedly conducted experiments in a castle in Austria, attempting to test the hollow Earth theory by aiming radar beams skyward, convinced they would bounce off the inner surface of a hollow sphere. Modern physics dismisses such efforts as nonsense, yet the account illustrates how seriously certain factions treated the possibility of an inner world. Whether the experiment occurred as described remains debated. Some historians argue it was post-war fabrication, while others see traces of genuine, but misguided, research. The Second World War itself only fueled speculation further. As Allied forces advanced and captured documents, rumors spread that Nazi leaders had hidden secret bases in Antarctica. Some claimed submarines had discovered vast caverns beneath the ice, where advanced technologies were being developed in collaboration with subterranean allies. While lacking firm evidence, these stories became part of the larger Hollow Earth mythos. Antarctica, remote and poorly mapped, proved the perfect canvas for the imagination. Science provides a colder, grounded perspective. Antarctica does indeed hide massive subglacial lakes, such as Lake Vostok, buried beneath miles of ice. These lakes have been isolated for millions of years, sparking speculation about unique, unseen ecosystems. While they do not connect to hidden empires, their very existence demonstrates how much remains concealed beneath the surface. In 2013, the discovery of microbial life in Lake Vostok confirmed that life can survive in environments long thought inhospitable, hinting at possibilities only beginning to be explored. One offbeat yet revealing event occurred in 1945, just after the war. Reports circulated of strange, ghost rockets, streaking across Scandinavian skies in patterns no one could explain. Historians generally attribute these to early Soviet missile tests or meteors, yet fringe theorists linked them to hidden bases in subterranean or polar regions. The combination of post-war secrecy and unexplained phenomena fed the notion that powerful forces beneath the Earth might still influence the surface world. The idea of Nazi expeditions in search of inner Earth civilizations remains controversial. Some dismiss it as post-war myth-making, turning mundane exploration into sensational stories. Others argue that while the Nazis never discovered hidden kingdoms, their documented fascination with esotericism lends plausibility to the legends. Historians continue to debate whether these stories are based on kernels of truth or were later fabricated for ideology or entertainment. Yet the resonance of this period persists for anyone captivated by hollow Earth theories. The Nazi connection injects both mystery and unease, showing how myths can be co-opted by ideology, transformed from speculative wonder into tools of political ambition. It also underscores the enduring allure of subterranean civilizations, even for those wielding immense worldly power. In the decades that followed, these stories evolved into modern legend. Antarctica remained a focal point, a vast, blank canvas where one could imagine hidden caverns, lost cities, and secret bases. The Nazi association added a darker edge, blending mythology with militarized ambition. By the mid-20th century, the idea of secret civilizations beneath the Earth had entered the modern world, entwined with science, politics, and secrecy. The descent into mystery deepened, accompanied by a persistent suspicion, beneath ice and soil, something remains concealed. In the aftermath of the Second World War, rumors of hidden polar worlds intensified, especially around one man whose career straddled exploration and legend, Admiral Richard E. Byrd of the United States Navy. Byrd was a decorated aviator and polar explorer, celebrated for daring flights over the Arctic and Antarctic. Yet it is his 1947 expedition that became central to Hollow Earth speculation, largely due to what he reportedly saw, or what later accounts claimed he saw. The story begins with Operation High Jump, a massive U.S. Navy mission to Antarctica launched in 1946 to 1947. Officially, it was a training exercise designed to test personnel and equipment under extreme polar conditions. Over 4,700 men, 13 ships, and 33 aircraft were deployed, making it the largest Antarctic expedition of its time. The sheer scale fueled speculation. Why such an enormous force for training? Some believed the mission had hidden objectives, ranging from searching for secret Nazi bases to investigating polar anomalies. According to official records, Operation High Jump ended after only a few months, with several aircraft lost and lives claimed by the harsh environment. Yet rumors quickly filled the gaps. Tales of hidden landmasses, secret bases, and encounters with unknown forces circulated, cementing Byrd's expedition as a cornerstone of Hollow Earth mythology. Fringe writers have long suggested that Byrd's expedition encountered something extraordinary, flying craft emerging from beneath the ice, or openings leading into vast subterranean caverns. These claims gained traction in later decades when accounts circulated of a secret journal allegedly written by Byrd himself. Known as the Byrd Diary, this document surfaced publicly in the 1990s and described a fantastical journey. In it, Byrd purportedly wrote of flying beyond the pole and discovering lush valleys where mammoths still roamed, eventually arriving at a radiant city inhabited by an advanced race. According to the diary, these beings warned humanity against the dangers of nuclear war and urged global peace. Scholars, however, are nearly unanimous. The diary is almost certainly a forgery, inconsistent with Byrd's actual style and lacking verifiable provenance. Historians debate whether it was crafted as deliberate fiction or sincere but misguided myth-making. Yet even without the diary, Byrd himself gave fuel to speculation. In a 1947 interview with a Chilean newspaper, he was quoted describing Antarctica as the land of everlasting mystery, rich in resources that could one day supply the world. Later, in 1956, he reportedly claimed, "This is the most important expedition in the history of the world." Ambiguous statements like these, stripped from context, became proof to believers that Byrd had glimpsed far more than ice and snow. One seemingly unrelated yet eerie event occurred in 1947, the crash of a mysterious flying object in Roswell, New Mexico. While distinct from Operation High Jump, UFO enthusiasts often link the two, suggesting encounters with advanced beings, some descending from the sky, others rising from beneath the earth. In their eyes, the timing is no coincidence, the two events connected by a hidden thread of secrecy and unexplored frontiers. Science offers more prosaic explanations. Polar regions are prone to optical illusions, including mirages such as Fata Morgana, which can create the appearance of mountains, forests, or even entire cities where none exist. Arctic pilots have reported such visions for centuries, often describing them in ways that sound fantastical. It is entirely possible Byrd witnessed such illusions, later magnified by rumor into tales of inner Earth kingdoms. Yet the allure of the Byrd story remains irresistible. Could an experienced explorer, trained in navigation and observation, truly mistake an optical illusion for a hidden world? Or might he have glimpsed something unexplained, concealed by official records? The question lingers in the shadowy space between documented history and whispered legend. In the years following his polar flights, Byrd continued serving in the Navy, leading further expeditions. He died in 1957, leaving behind both a legacy of exploration and a lingering aura of mystery. For enthusiasts of Hollow Earth theories, Byrd's journeys stand as tantalizing evidence that entrances to hidden civilizations may exist at the poles. For skeptics, They are a cautionary tale of how myths can grow from ambiguous remarks, forged documents, and humanity's desire for discovery. What is certain is that Byrd's story marked a turning point. After him, the hollow earth was no longer merely ancient myth or Renaissance speculation. It had stepped firmly into the modern age, entwined with exploration, military secrecy, and the dawning era of UFO fascination. Whether truth or fiction, Byrd's legacy deepened the mystery, leaving the world to wonder what truly lies beneath the ice. Long before 20th-century polar expeditions, North American myths already told of peoples who had gone beneath the earth. Among the Hopi, stories of the ant people remain vivid, woven into oral tradition and carefully passed from generation to generation. These tales do not speak of metaphorical realms of the dead or spiritual allegories, but of living helpers who intervened in times of catastrophe, guiding humanity into the safety of underground passageways. According to Hopi tradition, the ant people appeared twice. In the first world, when fire consumed the surface, they opened their homes below and took survivors into their caverns. In the second world, when floods drowned the land, they again sheltered humanity beneath the earth. The Hopi describe these beings as tall, thin figures with elongated heads and large, luminous eyes adapted to darkness. They taught survival, shared food and knowledge, and eventually guided humans back to the surface to rebuild civilization. Modern anthropologists interpret the ant people as symbolic memory of real events. Some suggest they echo tribes who sought refuge in caves during droughts or disasters, offering aid to others. Others propose that the stories preserve memories of actual cataclysms, volcanic eruptions, or massive floods, when survival truly depended on subterranean refuge. Archaeological evidence supports the practicality of underground life. Cliff dwellings in Mesa Verde, intricate caves along the Grand Canyon, and other sites show that humans have long adapted to living beneath the earth. The Hopi are not alone. Across North America, indigenous traditions recall beings from underground. The Zuni spoke of emerging from subterranean kivas into the daylight. The Mandan told of ancestors who lived in subterranean villages until they were guided upward. Even the Sioux carried stories of people living beneath the earth, guardians who occasionally rose to the surface. Across cultures, the theme repeats. The earth itself may conceal both refuge and wonder, a hidden world that has inspired myth, memory, and speculation for millennia. These recurring motifs suggest a profound cultural resonance with the idea that humanity's origins, or at least its survival, may be intimately tied to hidden spaces beneath the earth. The Grand Canyon itself has long fueled speculation. In 1909, the Arizona Gazette ran an article claiming a vast network of caves had been discovered, filled with artifacts of an unknown civilization, hieroglyphs, statues, and tools unlike anything seen above ground. The piece asserted that the Smithsonian Institution was involved, though no evidence exists in official records. Many dismissed the story as pure fabrication, a product of journalistic imagination. Yet for enthusiasts of the hollow earth, it became another tantalizing clue suggesting that ancient civilizations may once have thrived beneath North America's soil. A strange, tangential yet related event occurred in 1902, when miners in South Dakota reported discovering a massive cavern filled with fossilized bones of mammoths and other prehistoric creatures, astonishingly well preserved. The cave, later named Wind Cave, proved to be real, though it contained no lost civilizations. Today, Wind Cave is recognized as one of the longest cave systems on Earth, with over 140 miles of mapped passageways. While it holds no secret societies, its vast and intricate labyrinth underscores how much of the world beneath us remains uncharted. Modern geology reinforces this sense of hidden wonder. Subterranean networks of caves, aquifers, and tunnels stretch across continents, many unmapped and unexplored. The Mammoth Cave system in Kentucky, the longest known on the planet, spans more than 400 miles and continues to reveal new chambers. In 2018, explorers uncovered previously unknown passages in Lugia Cave, New Mexico, complete with mineral formations unlike any documented before. These discoveries illustrate that vast, alien worlds exist just beneath our feet, accessible only through narrow entrances and the persistence of human curiosity. Could the Hopis and people be symbolic memories of actual cave-dwelling groups whose aid during natural disasters was mythologized over generations? Or do the stories point to something more mysterious, an enduring tradition suggesting that humanity was not alone in the depths? Some propose that descriptions of large eyes and slender bodies could reflect encounters with unfamiliar tribes, or even distorted memories of extinct hominin species. Others interpret these images as archetypal figures, born of imagination and the human mind's way of giving shape to darkness. The debate remains unresolved. For the Hopi, these tales are sacred, intertwined with their understanding of the cycles of worlds and humanity's duties. For scholars, they offer insight into how cultures explain catastrophe and survival. For Hollow Earth enthusiasts, they are fragments of possible evidence that contact with subterranean civilizations may have once occurred. From the deserts of the American Southwest to the icy poles, the echoes converge. Across time and geography, cultures tell of helpers from below, guardians of hidden realms, and passageways into unseen worlds. The Hopi ant people remain among the clearest voices in this chorus, reminding us that the Earth's mystery is not confined to myth alone. It is also memory, belief, and lived experience. Beneath the crust, hidden from human eyes, there may exist not only caverns but oceans. The possibility of subterranean seas has haunted both science and legend for centuries, a vision of water flowing endlessly beneath the land, feeding rivers and perhaps sustaining entire ecosystems invisible to us. Myths of hidden waters are nearly as old as civilization itself. And only recently has science begun to confirm that vast reservoirs truly exist within the deep mantle, blurring the line between story and geology and rekindling speculation about what such hidden oceans could mean for inner civilizations. In Babylonian myth, creation began with the mingling of the saltwater goddess Tiamat and the freshwater god Apsu, deities representing primeval waters beneath the earth. These waters, believed to surge upward, fed the rivers of Mesopotamia. In Egypt, the concept of Nun, the primordial waters beneath creation, depicted an endless abyss upon which the world floated. These myths were not merely allegories but cosmologies grounded in daily experience, springs, wells, and floods emerging mysteriously from the earth itself. Medieval European scholars imagined vast subterranean reservoirs, speculating that earthquakes or floods might be caused by hidden seas bursting forth. The idea persisted into the scientific revolution, with thinkers like Athanasius Kircher in the 17th century drawing elaborate diagrams of underground rivers coursing through the planet like veins. Though speculative, these maps reflect the enduring notion that beneath the soil lay not just stone, but water, endless water. Modern science has provided striking confirmation. In 2014, geophysicists announced evidence of vast reservoirs of water locked within ringwoodite crystals deep in the Earth's mantle, nearly 700 kilometers below the surface. While not liquid in the classical sense, the volume may be staggering, perhaps 3 times the ocean's combined volume. Though this does not confirm subterranean seas, it demonstrates that Earth's interior holds unimaginable reserves, blurring the line between legend and geology. What if beyond trapped water and minerals, vast liquid-filled caverns do exist? In the 2000s, explorers investigating Dragon's Breath Cave in Namibia found a subterranean lake estimated to be the largest non-glacial underground lake in the world, its waters stretching far beyond the reach of divers. In Romania, the newly discovered Muval Cave contained a sealed ecosystem cut off from the surface for millions of years, home to over 30 unique species surviving in total darkness amid toxic gases. These discoveries remind us that the hidden world beneath our feet is not merely theoretical. It is alive, strange, and waiting to be explored. These real examples fuel speculation that hidden worlds beneath the Earth's crust may harbor life unknown to us. A strange and seemingly unrelated event occurred in 1812, when the New Madrid earthquakes shook the Mississippi Valley with such ferocity that the river briefly ran backward. Eyewitnesses described fountains of sand and water erupting from the ground as if hidden seas had burst forth beneath their feet. While geologists explain this as liquefaction caused by seismic pressure, the dramatic spectacle left a lasting impression, convincing some that vast reservoirs lay concealed beneath the continent. Could such subterranean waters sustain life, or even civilizations? Some theorists imagine sprawling caverns lit by bioluminescent fungi or geothermal heat, lakes teeming with fish, and ecosystems capable of supporting societies entirely removed from the surface world. Skeptics counter that extreme pressures and temperatures would make such spaces inhospitable. Yet even mainstream science confirms that microbial life thrives in extreme subterranean conditions, feeding on chemical reactions in complete darkness. If microbes can persist, the leap to more complex ecosystems, at least theoretically, is not impossible. The hypothesis is simple yet profound. If vast underground oceans exist, they could serve both as barriers and sanctuaries. They might isolate entire ecosystems, preserving life forms lost above ground. In the more imaginative reaches of speculation, they might even provide the lifeblood for civilizations that fled beneath the earth in ancient times. Could Atlantis, or its survivors, have retreated not only into myth, but into caverns sustained by hidden seas? The debate continues. For geologists, subterranean water is a matter of mineral chemistry and tectonic activity. For mythologists, it echoes creation stories and ancient floods. For those fascinated by hollow earth civilizations, it is the key to explaining how such societies could endure in darkness, supplied with water, food, and hidden ecosystems. The possibility of underground floods reshapes the imagination. It suggests that the boundaries between surface and depth are not absolute, that water may flow endlessly between, and that beneath the ground lie oceans as mysterious as those above. As long as the deep remains largely unmapped, the notion of secret civilizations sustained by hidden seas cannot be entirely dismissed. If subterranean oceans hint at hidden life, the discovery of vast underground cities raises an even sharper question. Could entire civilizations have once thrived beneath the surface? Archaeology provides astonishing examples of human ingenuity underground, blurring the line between myth and reality. While these findings do not prove lost kingdoms like Agartha or Shambhala existed, they show that humans have long turned to the depths for refuge, survival, and secrecy. Perhaps the most striking example lies in Cappadocia, central Turkey. Beneath its volcanic plateau, composed of soft yet durable stone, lie sprawling underground cities such as Derinkuyu and Kimakli. Derinkuyu, the largest known, could house as many as 20,000 people. Its passages extend across multiple levels, complete with ventilation shafts, stables, wells, kitchens, and chapels. Archaeologists believe these labyrinths were carved as early as the 1st millennium BCE and later expanded by early Christians seeking refuge from persecution. To walk within them is to enter a world deliberately hidden, a city designed to vanish beneath the earth. Derinkuyu is not alone. Across Cappadocia, hundreds of subterranean complexes have been discovered, connected by tunnels stretching for miles. The scale of these constructions astonishes scholars even today. They are evidence that large populations lived and thrived underground, at least temporarily, protected from enemies above. While mainstream historians see them primarily as defensive refuges, hollow earth enthusiasts view them as proof that large-scale subterranean living is not only feasible but historically practiced. Historians continue to debate the precise origins and extent of these cities, leaving ample room for speculation. Elsewhere, similar subterranean structures appear. In Malta, the Hal-Saflieni hypogeum, dating to around 4000 BCE, is a 3-level underground temple complex carved with astonishing precision. Its chambers include acoustic features that amplify sound in ways modern engineers still marvel at. Some theorists suggest it was used for ritual contact with the underworld, while others propose it formed part of a hidden tradition of subterranean worship. Its scale and purpose remain enigmatic, leaving archaeologists to wonder whether it was symbolic, functional, or both. In the Andes, stories of tunnels beneath Cusco speak of treasures hidden by the Inca before the Spanish conquest. Chronicles describe labyrinthine passages extending for miles, though most entrances have collapsed or remain unverified. In 2000, researchers rediscovered portions of the Chincana labyrinths on the Island of the Sun in Lake Titicaca, lending some credence to these old legends. Whether these tunnels were meant for storage, ritual, or escape, they reinforce a global pattern of extensive human-made spaces below the surface. One curious, off-topic yet notable event occurred in 1972, when workers drilling in Oklahoma reported hearing hollow sounds and voices emanating from deep within the earth. The story spread in sensationalist newspapers and later inspired so-called hell sounds, recordings allegedly captured from deep drilling projects in Siberia. While these recordings have been debunked as hoaxes, their popularity highlights how easily real drilling operations feed into myths of vast hollows beneath the crust. Science offers grounding for these speculations. Geological studies confirm that caverns and tunnels exist naturally around the world, formed by volcanic activity, erosion, and tectonic shifts. Lava tubes in Hawaii and Iceland, for instance, can extend for miles beneath the surface, forming natural underground highways. The largest known lava tube on Earth, in Lanzarote, spans over 8 kilometers, illustrating how extensive subterranean networks can naturally occur without human intervention. These natural wonders offer blueprints for what vast subterranean environments might look like independent of human construction. The question arises, could civilizations beyond our own have harnessed such environments, building cities deeper than we have yet discovered? Some theorists argue that legends of Agartha and Shambhala may reflect distorted memories of ancient subterranean cultures whose true scale has been lost to history. Others suggest that humans, forced by cataclysm or invasion, may once have lived underground for generations, leaving behind only fragments of their legacy. Archaeology points toward possibility, but not proof. The underground cities of Cappadocia, the temples of Malta, and the tunnels of the Andes all demonstrate that large-scale subterranean life was not only imagined, but achieved. Yet they remain tied to surface societies, designed for refuge or ritual rather than permanent habitation. For proponents of the hollow earth hypothesis, these structures are stepping stones, glimpses of what could be, if not what is. The debate remains unresolved. Were these vast underground networks simply refuges, or do they reflect a deeper, older tradition of subterranean existence that myths like Agartha preserve? Scholars continue to disagree, and the silence of the earth offers no answer. Still, each new discovery, another labyrinth, another hidden passage, keeps alive the possibility that somewhere, deeper than any archaeologist has yet dug, lies a civilization that never returned to the surface. The earth trembles. It always has. For much of human history, earthquakes were seen as messages from the gods, signs of punishment, or the struggles of unseen creatures shifting beneath the crust. Today, geologists explain them through plate tectonics, continental slabs grinding over molten layers, faults catching and slipping, energy released in sudden jolts. Yet for centuries, strange tremors and unexplained vibrations were also interpreted as signs of something more, movement within the deep, far beyond ordinary human perception. In ancient Japan, earthquakes were said to be caused by the giant catfish Namazu thrashing beneath the ground. Norse tradition linked tremors to the writhing of Loki, bound beneath the earth, shaking the land in his struggles. The Greeks invoked Poseidon, earth-shaker, striking with his trident to unleash destruction. Across cultures, earthquakes were more than physical events. They were signals of hidden power beneath the soil. Historians debate whether such myths were symbolic or reflected attempts to explain unusual seismic phenomena observed in antiquity. One dramatic example of subterranean mystery occurred during the New Madrid earthquakes of 1811 to 1812 in the Mississippi Valley. The quakes were so powerful that church bells rang in Boston and the Mississippi briefly flowed backward. Eyewitnesses reported strange lights in the sky, fountains of sand and water erupting from the ground, and roaring sounds like thunder from below. Geologists today attribute these phenomena to liquefaction and the piezoelectric effects of quartz under pressure. Yet to contemporary observers, it seemed as though the earth itself were alive, groaning and reshaping as if in pain. In more recent times, unusual seismic events have deepened the mystery. In 1997, seismographs across the globe recorded a strange hum emanating from deep within the earth, lasting for days. The tremor was not linked to earthquakes or volcanic activity. Scientists eventually traced it to ocean waves interacting with the seafloor, but fringe theorists interpreted it as the movement of something vast, hidden, and perhaps artificial within the crust. Even stranger are the so-called mystery booms reported around the world during the 1970s and 1980s. Residents of the eastern United States described loud, unexplained detonations, shaking houses and rattling windows. Seismographs recorded little or nothing. Similar phenomena were reported in Italy, India, and the Middle East, sometimes accompanied by faint vibrations. Explanations range from sonic booms to minor earthquakes, but no consensus exists. To some, these incidents are echoes of subterranean activity yet to be understood. One particularly curious event occurred in 2018, when a peculiar seismic wave traveled around the globe. It began near the French island of Mayotte, east of Africa, and circled the planet for 20 minutes, ringing seismographs worldwide. No human could feel it, and its pattern was unlike any known earthquake. Scientists later linked it to a massive movement of magma beneath the seafloor. Yet the sheer strangeness of the event sparked whispers that something deeper, stranger, might have been stirring. The link between tremors and hidden civilizations emerges from this ambiguity. If earthquakes represent the grinding and shifting of plates, could unexplained vibrations hint at something else entirely? Some theorists argue that regular, patterned movements deep below, unconnected to fault lines, could be the byproduct of subterranean societies, machinery, or energy sources unknown to surface science. Skeptics counter that every anomaly eventually yields to empirical explanation. Yet science itself acknowledges how incomplete our understanding remains, leaving room, however small, for the imagination to wander into the depths. Seismology relies on interpreting waves traveling through the Earth's layers. While much of the crust and mantle has been mapped, enormous uncertainties remain. In 2019, researchers discovered massive continent-sized structures at the boundary between the mantle and core, composed of dense material whose origin is unknown. These blobs, as scientists call them, lie thousands of kilometers below the surface, far beyond direct observation. What they are, and why they exist, remains a mystery. The hypothesis lingers. Could tremors, hums, and anomalies be signs not only of geological processes, but of hidden activity? Could subterranean civilizations, if they exist, generate seismic patterns detectable at the surface? The question cannot yet be answered, but it keeps the door ajar. To mainstream geology, earthquakes and tremors are explained by physics, chemistry, and tectonic pressures. To cultural historians, they reflect humanity's age-old attempt to make sense of disaster through myth. To those seeking hidden kingdoms, however, every unexplained vibration is one more hint that the Earth may not be silent after all. If tremors hint at motion beneath the surface, then heat suggests energy. For centuries, the Earth has been imagined not only as a vessel of hidden civilizations but as a furnace of untapped power. From volcanic eruptions that spew fire across the sky to the quiet warmth of hot springs, humanity has always sensed the energy locked beneath the ground. In the context of subterranean civilizations, this energy is often imagined not as a hazard, but as a resource, a vast, natural power source capable of sustaining hidden worlds for millennia. In the Roman world, the baths of Caracalla drew water from geothermal springs, transforming the Earth's heat into luxury and ritual. Across Asia, entire healing traditions grew around hot springs, believed to be gifts from below. Icelanders used volcanic steam to warm homes long before the modern age. These examples testify to humanity's recognition that the Earth produces usable power. Historians debate whether early peoples thought of these energies purely as natural gifts or as divine presence. The idea that a subterranean civilization could harness geothermal power is not beyond imagination. In 1904, Prince Piero Gioacchini tested the first geothermal generator in Italy, producing electricity from steam drawn from the earth. Today, geothermal plants power entire regions, particularly in Iceland and the Philippines. If surface civilizations can achieve this, why could an ancient or hidden society far beneath the crust not have done the same long ago? One strange yet telling event occurred in 1986 at Lake Nyos in Cameroon. Without warning, the lake released a massive cloud of carbon dioxide, suffocating over 1,700 people in nearby villages. Scientists later explained that magma beneath the lake had slowly charged the water with gas until it suddenly erupted. The disaster revealed both the volatility and the immensity of subterranean energy. If gases and heat can accumulate unseen, advanced societies might have learned to harness them rather than fall victim to their eruptions. Science offers both inspiration and limits. Geothermal energy originates from the decay of radioactive elements and residual heat from Earth's formation radiating upward from the core. The crust acts as an insulating blanket, yet in volcanic zones this energy becomes accessible. Theorists suggest that if vast cavern systems exist near such hotspots, a hidden civilization might thrive on geothermal warmth, using steam for power, light, and even agriculture. Hydrothermal vents in the ocean offer a striking parallel. In total darkness, ecosystems flourish around boiling water, supported not by sunlight but by chemical reactions. Legends hint at fiery realms below. In Hindu tradition, Patala is a subterranean domain inhabited by serpent-like beings illuminated not by the sun but by jewels that radiate light. Scholars interpret these descriptions as metaphors for geothermal brilliance, glowing minerals, volcanic heat, subterranean flames. In Dante's Inferno, hell itself is imagined as a cavernous descent where fire and ice coexist in paradoxical balance, suggesting that even literature sees the earth below as a place of both punishment and energy. Yet the notion of subterranean civilizations using geothermal power remains speculative. Could advanced cultures truly have developed isolated beneath the crust, maintaining complex societies without access to the surface? Skeptics argue that heat at depth is extreme, pressure-crushing, and resources scarce. Proponents counter with examples like extremophiles, organisms living deep within rock, feeding on chemical energy. If microbes can adapt to such extremes, the leap to complex systems remains within the realm of hypothesis. The debate circles endlessly. Scientists map geothermal zones with satellites, drilling cautiously into the crust to capture its warmth. Mythologists trace the recurrence of fiery underworlds in global traditions. Hollow Earth theorists imagine entire cities lit by the glow of magma, powered by steam and hidden rivers. Whether metaphor, science, or speculation, the idea remains the same. The Earth below is alive, and its energy is boundless. This vision reshapes how subterranean civilizations are imagined. They are not dark, cold, and lifeless, but radiant, sustained by the very fire that threatens the surface. If such societies exist, they may have mastered the art of drawing life from the depths, turning potential disaster into survival. The question lingers. If humans on the surface only recently mastered geothermal power, what might a hidden people with thousands of years of adaptation have achieved beneath the earth? Across every continent, folklore carries faint echoes of voices rising from below. These are not always stories of radiant kingdoms or vast caverns, but simpler, stranger whispers of beings who live beneath the soil. The recurrence of such tales suggests a deep pattern in human imagination, one that may point toward something more than coincidence. From Europe to Asia, Africa to the Americas, humanity has spoken of underground dwellers, shaping a collective myth that refuses to fade. In medieval Europe, peasants told of chthonic people, earthbound folk who mined in silence, emerging only rarely. In Germany, these became the Bergmans, tiny miners believed to live within the rock, skilled in metals and jewels. In Scandinavia, dwarves were imagined as subterranean craftsmen, forging weapons of power in hidden halls. Though often seen as mythological, these stories reflect the lived reality of miners. Men descending into darkness, hearing echoes and knocks in the rock that seem to belong to someone unseen. Historians still debate whether such myths arose as metaphor, superstition, or memories of earlier real encounters. In Africa, traditions vary widely, but several peoples tell of underground realms. The Dune of Mali describe contact with beings from beneath and beyond who taught them about the stars and cycles of time. Zulu stories speak of Abantabam Laba, people of the earth who live in vast subterranean spaces, surfacing only at night. In Asia, Chinese legends recount the immortal grotto, hidden caves where sages withdrew to escape surface corruption, gateways to realms of long life and hidden light. Japanese folklore tells of the Tengu, guardians of knowledge concealed within the earth, while in India, the Nagas, serpent beings, dwelt in splendid underground palaces rich with treasure and wisdom. The Americas too preserved these whispers. The Cherokee spoke of the Mooney people, pale beings who lived beneath the mountains, emerging only at night because sunlight blinded them. The Mandan tribe of the plains recounted ancestors living underground until guided to the surface by a spirit. These stories, scattered across geography, converge in a central theme: humanity's relationship with those who dwell below. One strange yet instructive event occurred in 1945 when miners in Bolivia reported rhythmic pounding beneath them, as though another group were working in hidden shafts. Yet no other groups were present. The sounds persisted for weeks, accompanied by cave-ins in unrelated sections of the mine. Geologists attributed this to shifting rock and echoes, but to those who lived it, the noises suggested invisible neighbors. Modern science offers frameworks for these recurring patterns. Psychologists argue that caves symbolize the unconscious mind, and myths of subterranean beings reflect humanity's hidden fears and desires. Anthropologists point to practical experiences of cave-dwelling peoples, whose lives naturally gave rise to stories of others dwelling deeper. Geologists emphasize acoustics, drips, collapses, and cracks that sound uncannily like voices or footsteps. Yet questions remain. Why do so many cultures independently imagine not just spirits, but organized societies beneath the ground? Could it reflect a shared memory of real encounters, perhaps with other human groups who once lived underground during catastrophes? The hypothesis persists. If subterranean civilizations existed, even briefly, their memory could enter folklore, spreading across generations until it became myth. The luminous-eyed beings of the Hopi, the pale Mooney people of the Cherokee, the serpent kings of India, all may represent fragments of a larger story distorted through time. Skeptics argue similarities arise from universal cave experiences, but believers point to the uncanny consistency of details across continents. The debate remains open. Beneath the soil of every land, there may exist not only stone and silence, but echoes of whispers, the memory of beings who once called the deep earth home. If Earth itself is imagined as hollow, the mystery widens when one looks skyward. For centuries, humanity has speculated not only about hidden worlds beneath its feet, but about whether celestial bodies might conceal similar secrets. The moon, in particular, has drawn suspicion. Its cratered, silent face long served as a mirror for human imagination. In recent decades, hollow moon theories intertwined with the broader hollow Earth hypothesis. The first seeds were planted scientifically. During the Apollo missions, astronauts placed seismic instruments on the lunar surface. In 1969, after the lunar module Eagle returned to orbit, its spent ascent stage was deliberately crashed into the moon. To scientists' surprise, the moon rang like a bell. For nearly an hour, vibrations far longer than expected. Later missions produced similar results. NASA attributed this to the moon's rigid, dry structure and lack of water to dampen vibrations. To others, however, it suggested hollow resonance, a moon more cavernous than officially admitted. The notion was not entirely new. In the 1960s, Soviet scientists Mikhail Vasin and Alexander Sherbakov proposed the spaceship moon hypothesis, speculating the moon might be an artificial construct, hollowed and placed in orbit by unknown intelligences. Mainstream science dismissed it, but the idea captured imaginations, blending with hollow Earth speculation to suggest both Earth and Moon conceal vast hidden interiors. One strange, off-topic, but tantalizing event occurred in 1977. Radio astronomers detected the so-called WOW signal, a mysterious burst of energy from space lasting 72 seconds. Its origin remains unexplained, leaving some to wonder whether even the heavens themselves echo the hidden architectures humanity imagines beneath its feet. Though unrelated to the moon, the WOW signal of 1977 fueled speculation about extraterrestrial intelligence. For some fringe theorists, it offered circumstantial support that advanced beings, perhaps the same who built subterranean worlds on Earth, might also have engineered or occupied the moon. Legends, too, contribute to the intrigue. Ancient cultures often spoke of a time before the moon existed. The Chipa of Colombia and certain African peoples preserved stories of an age when the sky was dark, before a celestial orb appeared above. Aristotle recorded that some Arcadian tribes claimed their ancestors lived before the moon was in the heavens. Such myths are often interpreted as metaphors for prehistory. Yet they also raise questions. Why do multiple cultures recall a time before the moon? Could they preserve a memory of astronomical changes, or of an encounter with the moon when it appeared different than it does today? Science offers grounding. The prevailing giant impact hypothesis suggests the moon formed billions of years ago from debris after a Mars-sized object collided with Earth. Its density, seismic data, and composition indicate a solid, though unusual, structure, not a hollow one. Still, anomalies remain. Unusual mass concentrations beneath lunar basins, magnetic fields that should not exist, and unexplained crater depths. Each of these mysteries leaves small spaces for speculation. The connection between hollow Earth and hollow moon theories emerges here. If our nearest celestial neighbor could be imagined as hollow, then Earth's own legends of subterranean realms seem less outlandish. Some suggest both bodies share a hidden architecture, perhaps the work of natural processes not yet understood, or even of intelligences older than humankind. To planetary scientists, the moon is a dry, geologically complex satellite whose mysteries are slowly yielding to study. To mythologists, it is a celestial twin of Earth, echoing its underworld myths in the heavens. To hollow Earth believers, it is one more piece of circumstantial evidence that worlds within worlds may be the rule, not the exception. The moon hangs in the sky, silent yet suggestive. Its pockmarked face reminds us how little we truly know. As with Earth, what appears barren on the surface may conceal secrets whispering of civilizations unseen. Across the world's sacred texts, a constant refrain emerges. Beneath the earth lies more than stone and fire. Religion has long described hidden realms, sometimes places of punishment, sometimes paradises, sometimes sanctuaries of powerful beings dwelling away from the surface. These stories blur the line between spiritual allegory and possible memory of subterranean domains, reinforcing the idea that civilizations below may not be purely myth, but echoes of something older. In Christian tradition, the underworld is usually imagined as hell, a realm of fire, suffering, and shadow. Medieval theologians believed it to lie literally beneath the ground, an inverted kingdom beneath Earth's crust. Dante's Inferno depicts hell as a vast funnel of circles, each descending deeper, reaching the frozen center where Satan himself is bound. While symbolic, it reflects a cosmology in which the interior of Earth is not lifeless rock but structured realms, inhabited and organized. In Hinduism, the Patala realms offer a more complex vision. Beneath the earth lie 7 regions inhabited by serpent beings known as Nagas, who live in splendid palaces adorned with gems. Unlike Christian hell, Patala is not a place of torment but of beauty, wealth, and knowledge. Its palaces glow with radiant jewels that provide light absent the sun. This subterranean kingdom is ruled by Vka, king of serpents, and guarded by divine forces. Patala envisions the world beneath as populated, ordered, and full of life. Islam preserves hints of hidden depths as well. The Quran speaks of layers of the earth, each with its own mysteries, and of the jinn, beings of smokeless fire who live in deserts, ruins, and sometimes underground. Folklore across the Islamic world describes jinn inhabiting caves and subterranean passages, guarding treasures or ancient knowledge. These beings coexist with humanity yet remain concealed, a theme resonant with hollow earth speculation. In Buddhism, Shambhala is the most famous subterranean paradise, but other realms beneath the land appear in sutras, accessible only to those with spiritual clarity. Taoist legends in China describe immortal grottos, spiritual gateways, and literal hidden caves where sages withdrew to commune with eternity. Indigenous traditions echo these patterns. The Navajo speak of previous worlds beneath this one, from which humanity ascended through a reed into the present. The Aztec described Mictlan, a layered underworld through which souls traveled after death. The Maori of New Zealand told of Rarohenga, a hidden world below where ancestors dwell. Across continents, a pattern repeats. Beneath us lie other worlds, some terrible, some wondrous, but always inhabited. One strange yet illustrative event occurred in 1947, when the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered hidden in caves near Qumran. While not evidence of subterranean civilizations, their preservation underground carries symbolic weight, sacred knowledge kept in darkness, waiting to be revealed. This image resonates with myths of Agartha and Pat Allah, where hidden societies guard knowledge until the world is ready. Modern religious scholarship often interprets these accounts as allegories, descriptions of inner states, spiritual journeys, or moral lessons. Yet the persistence of physical imagery, palaces, jewels, rivers, cities, invite speculation that beneath the earth, hidden worlds may yet exist. Could these stories preserve cultural memories of ancient peoples who truly lived underground, their existence transformed into sacred myth? Or are they purely metaphor, the universal human need to locate mystery below? The hypothesis endures. Perhaps religions are not simply inventing unseen realms, but encoding fragments of forgotten history. The serpentine nagas of Hindu tradition, the jinn in Islamic folklore, the radiant palaces beneath the soil, all may be distant echoes of civilizations or cultures that retreated underground, remembered imperfectly through sacred imagination. The debate remains unresolved. Theologians emphasize metaphor, archaeologists emphasize cultural necessity, and believers in hidden civilizations read these sacred texts as faint testimonies of worlds once known. Whatever the truth, the recurrence of subterranean realms in religion strengthens the sense that the earth beneath us is more than silent stone. It is a canvas upon which humanity has painted both its fears and its hopes, its hells and its paradises. If myth and religion describe hidden realms in symbolic language, the science of caves offers a tangible counterpart. Even without human imagination, caves are not mere hollows in rock. They are entire worlds with their own climates, ecosystems, and landscapes. Explorers find forests of stone, rivers vanishing into darkness, and creatures adapted to alien conditions. These discoveries do not prove advanced civilizations exist underground, but they demonstrate that life can persist in environments once thought inhospitable, feeding speculation that something more might lie deeper still. Consider the sheer scale of Earth's known cave systems. Mammoth Cave in Kentucky stretches over 400 miles, making it the longest known cave in the world and still being mapped. Lujula Cave in New Mexico plunges more than 1,600 feet, revealing chambers filled with rare minerals, gypsum chandeliers, and crystalline passages untouched by light. In Vietnam, Son Doong Cave is so vast that it contains its own jungle, river, and weather system, with clouds forming inside the cavernous expanse. These discoveries remind us that beneath our feet lie realms large enough to feel like countries in their own right. Life within these caves is stranger still. In Mobile Cave, Romania, sealed off from the surface for 5.5 million years, scientists discovered an ecosystem entirely independent of sunlight. Blind spiders, leeches, and a previously unknown scorpion survive through chemosynthesis, feeding on sulfur and methane. No sunlight, no photosynthesis, yet life endures. Historians debate whether legends of glowing underground worlds were inspired, at least in part, by encounters with caves producing strange light from minerals or bioluminescence. In Mexico, the Cave of the Crystals, discovered in 2000, contains selenite crystals over 30 feet long, shimmering like columns of a palace. The extreme heat and humidity make prolonged human presence nearly impossible, yet the chamber hints at the surreal architecture of natural forces, almost as if sculpted by some hidden intelligence. One off-topic but relevant event occurred in 1976, when divers explored the cenotes of the Yucatan Peninsula. Sacred to the Maya, these sinkholes were found to be entrances into vast flooded cave systems. Archaeologists uncovered offerings, bones, and artifacts at depth. For the Maya, the cenotes were portals to Subalba, the underworld. Modern science confirmed that these formations were both life-giving water sources and passages into astonishing subterranean landscapes. Modern biology transforms caves into laboratories of possibility. Extremophiles, microbes that survive in acidic pools, frozen rock, or boiling vents, suggest life's limits are broader than once believed. Entire ecosystems can thrive on nothing more than the chemical reactions of rock and water. If this can occur here, cut off from sunlight, why not in vast hidden caverns deeper within the crust? Some theorists propose that ancient humans entering these vast caves and encountering pale, eyeless creatures may have woven those experiences into myths of subterranean peoples. The resemblance between cave-adapted animals, pale, thin, with large eyes, and descriptions of ant people or moony-eyed beings is striking. Perhaps encounters with specialized fauna became embellished into stories of whole societies dwelling in the dark. Others argue that caves like Sondong or Lujula demonstrate that nature creates environments vast enough to support not just creatures, but perhaps communities. The hypothesis remains open. Could real subterranean civilizations, if they existed, have made use of such cave systems for survival? The archaeological record shows humans have long lived underground in times of need, from Paleolithic shelters to the underground cities of Cappadocia. Myths from cultures worldwide preserve memories of beings dwelling beneath. The convergence of these lines leaves room for speculation. To geologists, caves are natural wonders shaped by water, heat, and time. To biologists, they are crucibles of adaptation. To mythologists, they are sources of enduring stories. And to those who seek hidden civilizations, they are tantalizing hints that what lies beneath the crust is not lifeless, but rich, strange, and perhaps still inhabited. When the earth convulses and the skies darken, civilizations fall. Throughout history, natural catastrophes have erased cities, ended empires, and forced survivors to adapt in desperate ways. Perhaps some of these survivors, some fragment of humanity or other beings, sought refuge in the deep, leaving behind whispers and legends that continue to echo today. Some myths suggest that during catastrophic events, entire peoples did not merely scatter or perish, they descended. The notion that survivors of ancient cataclysms retreated beneath the earth recurs in traditions worldwide, raising the question of whether subterranean civilizations may be the remnants of lost ages, persisting in hidden domains. The most famous catastrophe is the flood. In Mesopotamia, the Epic of Gilgamesh recounts Utanapishtim, who survived the deluge sent by the gods. The Hebrew Bible preserves the same story in Noah. Across cultures, from India to China to the Americas, floods appear as world-ending events. While mainstream scholarship interprets these as cultural memories of regional inundations, some argue they preserve fragments of memory from a single global cataclysm at the end of the last ice age. Historians debate whether these accounts describe localized disasters or broader upheavals as ice sheets melted and seas rose dramatically. If the world above was drowned, it is not unthinkable that some survivors fled downward into caves and caverns, where freshwater sources and shelter could be found. Hopi stories of the ant people fit precisely into this framework. Humanity rescued by subterranean beings during times of fire and flood. Similar tales from Mesoamerica describe Xibalba, an underworld into which souls, and perhaps once people, descended when the surface became uninhabitable. Volcanic eruptions also reshaped human survival. In 1600, the eruption of Huayna Putina in Peru devastated Andean agriculture, and in 1815, Tambora erupted in Indonesia, creating the year without a summer, leading to famine and migration. During such events, caves and underground refuges became shelters of necessity. Archaeologists in Iceland have uncovered evidence of communities using lava tubes as temporary dwellings in times of eruption. Myths of fiery underworlds may reflect not only imagination but lived experience of survival in volcanic landscapes. One off-topic yet illustrative event occurred in 1883, when Krakatoa erupted with such violence that its explosion was heard 3,000 miles away. Entire islands disappeared, and ash darkened skies worldwide. Rumors circulated in Java and Sumatra of survivors retreating into hidden caves beneath the mountains, remaining there for years before re-emerging. While little evidence supports such claims, the legend underscores humanity's instinct to imagine refuge in the depths when the surface is destroyed. The end of the Ice Age around 12,000 years ago provides another focal point. As glaciers melted, sea levels rose over 100 meters, drowning vast tracts of land. Theories of Atlantis, first described by Plato, may reflect cultural memory of such loss. If great coastal settlements were destroyed, it is plausible that some survivors fled inland or underground. Paleolithic cave paintings in Europe, such as those in Lascaux and Chauvet, remind us that early humans were accustomed to descending into the earth, both for shelter and ritual. Could entire communities have remained there when catastrophe struck? Science adds its own mysterious hints. Genetic studies reveal bottlenecks in human history, periods when populations were reduced to small numbers before expanding again. These bottlenecks often coincide with climatic catastrophes. Where did survivors endure such times? On mountains, on boats, or perhaps, as myth suggests, within the earth itself? The possibility that hidden populations sought subterranean sanctuaries is speculative, yet not beyond reason. The hypothesis is provocative. What if some myths of hidden civilizations do not describe imaginary kingdoms, but distorted memories of real survivors who found safety below when the world above was aflame or drowned? Could they have developed independently, their existence remembered only in whispered legends of beings beneath the earth? The story of subterranean civilizations does not belong solely to myth, legend, or rumor. It has entered the halls of scholarship, where historians, geologists, and fringe theorists have wrestled with evidence, or the lack thereof. Debates about hidden worlds beneath the earth span centuries, with each new discovery of a cave, tunnel, or seismic anomaly reigniting speculation. These debates reveal not only what we know, but also the boundaries of our knowledge, where imagination begins. In the 18th and 19th centuries, hollow earth theories gained temporary credibility among scientists. Figures like Edmund Halley, better known for Halley's Comet, proposed that Earth might consist of concentric shells with luminous inner regions sustaining life. Later, John Clevey Sims Jr. argued for massive polar openings leading to habitable interiors. While both ideas were eventually rejected as geology advanced, they illustrate how seriously the question was once considered. Historians still debate whether Halley's model was intended literally or as a provisional hypothesis to explain magnetic anomalies. By the 20th century, mainstream science had largely dismissed hollow Earth models. Seismology, developed after major earthquakes, revealed the structure of Earth's interior. The crust, mantle, outer core, and inner core provided a framework that left little room for vast hollow spaces. Yet, mysteries remain, anomalies persist, and the imagination of humanity continues to probe the depths. Seismic waves suggest that Earth is solid, not hollow. Yet even here, anomalies persist. Seismologists have detected vast, dense structures at the boundary between the mantle and core whose nature remains uncertain. Some scientists describe them as blobs, unlike any other known geological formations. Are they remnants of ancient processes, or something stranger? Debate continues. Meanwhile, archaeologists examining subterranean architecture, from Cappadocia to the hypogeum of Malta, argue over scale and purpose. Some see them purely as defensive refuges, others as ritual centers, and still others as evidence of broader subterranean traditions. Fringe theorists go further, suggesting these sites are surface echoes of deeper civilizations yet to be discovered. Mainstream scholars hold firmly to functional explanations, but gaps in the record leave room for speculation. One curious historical episode occurred in 1949 when Harvard scientist Elspag Damp published Lost Continents, cataloging myths of Atlantis, Lemuria, and other vanished worlds. While dismissive of their literal reality, Damp acknowledged the persistence of these stories, inadvertently fueling interest among fringe thinkers who took the universality of such myths as circumstantial evidence of hidden truths. In modern academia, most historians and geologists regard hollow Earth claims as pseudoscience. Yet even they admit that myths of underground realms reveal much about human culture. Psychologists interpret them as expressions of the unconscious, reflecting hidden fears and desires. Anthropologists see them as echoes of real survival strategies, where humans sought shelter in caves during disasters. Religious scholars treat them as spiritual allegories. Yet none of these frameworks entirely excludes the possibility that something literal might lie behind the stories. Fringe theorists, by contrast, argue that academic skepticism itself hides truths. They point to inconsistencies in exploration records, anomalies in seismic data, and the sheer persistence of myths as circumstantial evidence. Some claim governments suppress discoveries of vast caverns to maintain secrecy or avoid public panic. Others suggest advanced subterranean civilizations prefer to remain hidden, observing the surface world without revealing themselves. While unsupported by verifiable data, these theories thrive in the absence of complete knowledge. For every cave mapped and every seismic anomaly explained, questions remain. Could we truly say with certainty that no hidden civilizations exist when so much of Earth's depths remain unexplored? Less than 1% of the crust has been directly examined. The Kola superdeep borehole in Russia, drilled to 12 kilometers in the 1970s, remains the deepest human-made point, yet it barely scratches the surface of Earth's 6,400 kilometers radius. The contrast is stark. We know more about outer space than we do about the world beneath our feet. The scholarly debate remains unresolved. To most scientists, vast civilizations beneath the Earth are impossible under current physics and geology. To historians of myth, they are a cultural constant worth studying. And to believers in hidden worlds, they are evidence awaiting discovery, truth concealed not by stone, but by the limits of human certainty. When speculation about subterranean civilizations entered the modern age, it inevitably collided with politics and secrecy. Governments, by nature, withhold knowledge, and where secrecy exists, speculation flourishes. Hollow Earth theorists argue that global powers have long concealed tunnels, caverns, and geological anomalies. Whether grounded in evidence or imagination, these conspiracies form one of the most enduring layers of the story. The roots of this suspicion trace back to the post-war era, when militaries conducted polar expeditions and underground nuclear tests. Antarctica, remote and difficult to access, became a focal point. In 1959, 12 nations signed the Antarctic Treaty, dedicating the continent to peaceful scientific research. To most, it was a triumph of international cooperation. To some, it was proof that governments were hiding something, perhaps entrances to hidden worlds beneath the ice. The Cold War deepened these beliefs. In the 1960s and 70s, underground nuclear tests produced unexpected seismic results, including long-lasting vibrations. Scientists explained them as wave reflections through complex geology, but fringe theorists interpreted them as evidence of subterranean voids deliberately kept secret. One off-topic yet illustrative event occurred in 1970 when the Soviet Union drilled the Kola superdeep borehole to over 12 kilometers. Officially, it was a project to study the crust. Unofficially, rumors claimed the drill broke into a massive cavern, and fabricated recordings of voices from hell circulated. Though exposed as hoaxes, these stories reinforced public suspicion that what lies beneath is not merely rock. Conspiracies also flourish around missing explorers and censored reports. Alleged diaries, classified seismic anomalies, and declassified military documents mentioning caves or unusual subterranean structures are seized upon by those seeking proof of hidden knowledge. Science provides a sobering perspective. Much of Earth remains unexplored because it is difficult, dangerous, and costly to reach. Mapping the ocean floor only began in earnest in the 20th century, and even now, vast regions remain mere outlines. The same is true underground. Seismic studies can infer structures, but direct access is limited. Governments may keep discoveries secret not because of subterranean civilizations, but due to strategic resources, military installations, or simply incomplete data. Yet for believers, secrecy itself becomes proof. If vast caverns are found, why are they not shared? If anomalies exist, why are they downplayed? In this worldview, the truth of subterranean civilizations would upend established narratives, challenging both science and power. Some suggest hidden societies prefer it this way, that unspoken agreements exist between surface governments and subterranean powers to preserve secrecy. The hypothesis is provocative. What if the greatest cover-up is not of extraterrestrial life, but of civilizations already here, beneath our feet? Could governments be protecting knowledge of entrances in Antarctica, the Himalayas, or even under American deserts? Skeptics counter that such theories rely on absence rather than presence. The absence of data becomes evidence, a logic impossible to disprove. Still, the debate endures. Conspiracies of secrecy remain central to the Hollow Earth narrative, blending history, politics, and science. They remind us that mysteries thrive where knowledge ends, and that the deeper the Earth remains unexplored, the more fertile the ground for suspicion becomes. The descent reaches its quietest depth. After myths of radiant kingdoms, after stories of explorers, maps, and conspiracies, one final question remains. What if, beyond legend and speculation, a civilization truly lives inside the Earth? The idea is improbable, yet it has haunted human thought for millennia. Its power lies not only in what it says about the Earth, but about ourselves. Imagine caverns vast enough to hold rivers and forests, lit not by the sun but by geothermal glow or bioluminescent organisms weaving light into walls of stone. Imagine lakes fed by subterranean seas, and cities carved into crystal chambers, their halls echoing with voices unheard on the surface for ages. The inhabitants might be descendants of ancient survivors driven below by flood or fire, their knowledge preserved while ours was lost. Or they might be something older, a branch of humanity, or even another species that diverged long before recorded history. The myths all point in fragments. The Hopi ant people, the Hindu Nagas, the Norse dwarves, Buddhist Shambhala, Christian hell. Each describes a world below, sometimes benevolent, sometimes fearful, always structured, always inhabited. Science adds its own fragments. Cave systems large enough to host ecosystems, subterranean lakes sealed for millions of years, microbial life thriving in darkness, seismic anomalies deep within the mantle. None of these prove a hidden civilization, but together, they create an atmosphere of possibility. One telling example closes this trail of thought. In 2018, scientists discovered microbial organisms living as far as 5 kilometers below Earth's surface in conditions once thought uninhabitable. These microbes may constitute the majority of life on the planet, unseen and unknown until now. If life can endure in silence and darkness, adapted to pressures and heat once considered impossible, perhaps the legends of greater life below are not entirely beyond imagination. Historians still debate whether myths of the underworld preserve truth or invention, but science itself admits how little we know. The hypothesis lingers. Could there be a civilization beneath our feet, hidden not by distance but by depth, waiting in silence while we walk unaware above? Perhaps the answer is no, and the Earth is only stone and fire. Or perhaps the myths, tremors, maps, and whispers are the faint traces of a truth too vast to dismiss. The debate is unresolved, as it always has been. Scholars argue for allegory, believers insist on memory, and scientists probe with instruments that reveal only fragments. The hollow Earth remains a question, a mirror in the dark reflecting our deepest curiosity. The story of hidden civilizations beneath the Earth is not only about stone caverns or molten depths. It is about humanity's longing, the need to believe that mystery still survives in a world increasingly measured and mapped. Beneath the surface, somewhere in the silence, may lie an echo of forgotten ages, or a promise of something yet to be revealed. Now, as the journey closes, the pace slows. No longer is there the weight of speculation, but the gentler rhythm of reflection. Caverns grow quiet. Underground rivers flow steadily in darkness. Crystals glimmer faintly, like stars buried deep within the earth. In that silence, the unknown feels less frightening, more like a cradle, a reminder that mystery, whether real or imagined, holds us in patient arms. If you have followed this descent all the way, let the final images linger, the earth not as emptiness, but as keeper of stories, myths, and the fragile hope that there is more to discover than we know. The hidden worlds, whether real or metaphorical, remain beneath us, undisturbed, waiting in their silence. And as that silence deepens, so does your own. The weight of stone above, the cool air of caves below, and the steady rhythm of unseen rivers all fold into one long, calm breath. The story withdraws like a tide, leaving only quiet. Good night.